Hey everybody! In this month's gel press video, I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful shaped gel press in the shape of an awareness ribbon, really detailed and beautiful on your prints. Now this month is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and on my blog I've talked quite a bit about the Gabby Patito Foundation, which is a foundation that's very near and dear to my heart. And so I thought that I would use the colors of the Domestic Violence Awareness ribbon, which is purple, with a couple of blues. I have some violets, some sort of lavender cool tones, and I'll be using a blue as well today to do this ribbon. Now, I will put a link to a list of different awareness ribbon colors that you can create with this special gel press. In this video, I will be using this a lot like a stamp. So I have the ribbon mounted on an acrylic block, so you can see that it's not as small as our petite gel presses, but it is a smaller gel press, and I love that where the ribbon crosses over, it has a cut. So you can see where the gel press starts and stops there. I think that's really interesting that they can shape them this way, and I was really curious about that when I got this ribbon plate. So I'm using my hand dryer. I will cut this out for the other prints, but I did want to show you that it really helps to dry the alcohol ink. And I like to do that before I do this next step, which is to take a photopolymer stamp with this little pattern, and off camera, I am spraying that with rubbing alcohol. So it'll work sort of like a lift ink. You could use the Ranger lift ink with this as well. It would have the same effect. You could also just use alcohol ink, because alcohol ink will lift alcohol ink off of your gel press. But I loved adding just a little bit of patterning to this. I think when we see these awareness ribbons, especially for the causes like Domestic Violence Awareness Month, we're used to just seeing them in the solid color that they are referenced in the link that I will post. But the thing about a gel press is you can add all sorts of fun texture to it, and it's just going to be a more interesting print. Now, to lift this beautiful pattern, I am going to use my trusty Amsterdam acrylic paint, and I have to be careful to just put a dot of paint on one of these smaller plates. You really just need a small amount of paint to do your lifting with. And then I will lift this with a piece of copy paper. Now, since it's on an acrylic block and that's sliding around on my glass mat just a little bit, normally I put my gel press directly onto my glass mat, so of course that's not going anywhere. But you can see I'm struggling to keep this still, so you'll want to make sure that you really rub all over it if it's moving around on you a little bit. And you can see how beautiful and detailed that is. I love, love, love that patterning. So now I'll do another one. I'll show you just kind of some different textures that you can get with alcohol inks. Probably the question I get the most often about the gel press is about using alcohol inks and alcohol on the gel press. People are usually very surprised that that's something that you can do. You know, alcohol is a solvent, and I think people are surprised that it works with the material that the gel press is made out of. But gel presses love alcohol ink, and you can do some really beautiful things with it. What's fun about alcohol ink is you get a transparency that you don't get from typical acrylic paints. Sort of like acrylic inks, you know, where you can see things through them. But it's one of the real magical things about using alcohol ink to print with is that transparency. So here I have a very violet tone. I can't remember which one this is. I will try to put it in the supply list. but I love how warm this color is. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to just add some texture to it with another alcohol ink. So here I'm coming in with the blue, and as I said, alcohol ink will move and push away other alcohol ink that's already dried on the plate. So I can create this sort of spotty texture that's a lot of fun just by dropping ink into it. Now when this is dry, I'll do the same thing. I feel like I got too much paint this time. We'll see. But I will lift it again with my Amsterdam acrylic. So I get a little bit of the excess paint off on my mat because I knew going in it was going to be too much paint, and I don't want to leave any of that alcohol ink down on the plate. Now, if I was smart, I could have just set this acrylic block onto my photopolymer stamp that's sitting right next to me, and then it wouldn't move around, but it's probably more fun for you to watch me struggle just a little bit. So now when I pull that up, it really cleanly pulls up every bit of that print. And I had a little extra piece of paint on there that I pulled off, and you can see how different those two are. So even in a small space like the petites or like this awareness ribbon, you can have a lot going on just like you do on your larger gel presses and your larger prints. So don't be afraid to take these smaller plates and use them with the same techniques, the same little tricks that you use on your larger prints. You're going to get all that interest and detail into your print, even on a small canvas like this awareness ribbon. So I will stamp this again with this fun little stamp. It gives kind of a sense of motion, these little circles in this stamp. I really like this pattern. And after that's dry, I'll add a little bit more paint. Lift that up. See, that one little dot is really all you need. So just visually, I think if you just watch how much paint really works when you're watching tutorials, then that can help you not put too much paint down and then maybe have a poor result when you are pulling that print. So here I'm just making sure that I get all the little areas really bonded with that paper, and I pull that up, and this one is actually really detailed. I love that one. That's just great. And see how I get a little bit of extra paint on the edges? Don't worry, you can just peel that off when it's dry. And that happens sometimes. So there's the first one, which was much paler than this last print. And then the second one, which had just the two different colors of alcohol ink that I just added drops for contrast in color. I really like the way the blue and the purples work together here. So here are the finished prints. I hope you enjoy these, and I hope that you will take some time to read about National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. I will include a link in the description. And thanks so much for watching.